Have you ever noticed that other people suddenly become more cautious when they're around you? They joke less, think carefully before speaking, or often explain things extensively even when you haven't objected. You didn't raise your voice, you didn't try to control anyone, and you didn't intend to upset anyone. But silence, observant gaze, or an overly calm reaction can leave others unsure of what you're thinking. So, are you just difficult to read, or are you actually making others feel intimidated? Look at these 6 signs and try to count how many you have. The fourth sign will explain why some people are wary of you, but still reach out to you whenever they need to be listened to. First sign, silence. In a conversation, even a few seconds of silence can be confusing for many people. They don't know if that pause is for thinking, a sign of disagreement, or simply because you have nothing more to say. When a prolonged silence occurs, the other person might look away, pick up their phone, or quickly switch to any topic. This isn't necessarily because they enjoy talking, but rather because they need a signal that the conversation is still safe. But you don't see silence as a problem to be solved. You usually pause to process what you've just heard, organize your thoughts, and only respond when you feel you have something you really need to say. For example, a colleague just presented an idea. You pause for a few seconds to consider it, but they immediately elaborate, speaking faster and trying to guess if you're unhappy. Or, during a first meeting when the conversation pauses, you remain calm. Meanwhile, the other person starts looking at their phone or constantly changing the subject because they can't read your mind. A study on conversational flow shows that when a brief silence interrupts a conversation, people may feel less accepted and experience negative emotions, sometimes without being fully aware of the reason. That doesn't mean your silence is wrong. The issue lies in the ambiguity. Just a nod, a slight smile, or saying, "Give me a few seconds to think," can let others know you're still listening. Are you often asked, "Why are you so quiet?" If so, consider that the first sign. But the next sign is that your silence doesn't just make one person hard to read, it can leave an entire group unsure which side you're on. Second sign, avoid dramas. In many groups of friends or workplaces, people often become close very quickly when they share a complaint about a person, a decision, or a controversial story. But you're usually not in a hurry to get involved. You listen to the story, keep your distance, and want to know enough information before judging. It's this neutrality that makes it difficult for others to guess what you're thinking. For example, some colleagues are criticizing someone who is not present. You don't follow along nor defend when the situation is unclear. After that, they spoke more carefully whenever you were around. Or when faced with a controversial story online, people immediately choose sides. You want to check for more information, but that caution can be interpreted as coldness or a lack of empathy. Avoiding controversy is a good way to maintain boundaries. However, complete silence creates a vacuum that allows others to interpret your actions as opposition, contempt, or secretly siding with the other side. You can stand your ground and still reduce misunderstanding with a very short sentence. "I don't think I know enough of the story to judge." Being clear but non-judgmental is often more effective than absolute silence. Have you ever been asked, "Why aren't you saying anything?" If so, consider this a second sign. But when you're truly interested in someone, you often skip the small talk and go straight to the deeper points. Sign 3. Like deep conversation. In communication, social questions are not completely meaningless. They help two people explore a level of safety, keep the atmosphere light, and decide whether they are ready to share more deeply. But you're usually not interested in ready-made answers. When you truly want to understand someone, you quickly skip the introductions and ask questions that get straight to the point. For example, when meeting someone for the first time, instead of just asking what they do for a living, you could ask, "What made you decide to leave your previous job?" To you, that's genuine curiosity. But the other person may not be prepared to talk about failures, conflicts, or personal decisions. A valid question might still come up at the wrong time, making them feel scrutinized too deeply, or a friend says he's fine, but his voice and facial expressions are unusual. You immediately ask, "What's really going on?" They may feel interested or feel pressured to speak. A famous study on intimacy shows that personal questions can help people connect more when the level of sharing increases and both parties open up. Depth needs to come with consensus. Before asking deeply, you just need to open the way with a sentence. You don't need to answer if you're not comfortable, but I'm a little curious. That way of saying maintains sincerity while still giving the right to choose to the other person. Do you often skip the small talk and ask directly what you really want to know? If so, that's the third sign. And the next sign will show that this observational ability sometimes makes others feel appreciated at the right time. Sign 4. Make others feel care. While many people are busy thinking about what to say next, you notice the subtle changes in the person you're talking to. Their voice is slower, their smile is more forced, or they're unusually quiet today. You can't see through their thoughts. You only remember how they usually behave and notice that something is different today. It's this attention that makes others feel like they're not being forgotten. For example, a colleague might still get their work done, but become less talkative, frequently distracted, and no longer as enthusiastic as usual. You notice this change before they proactively tell anyone. Instead of asking in front of the whole group, you wait for a private moment and then gently say, "You look a bit tired today. Is there anything worrying you?" A well-timed question can open up a sense of security. Or a friend talks about a problem but keeps saying, "It's just a small thing." You don't rush to give advice, but ask, "Do you want me to give my opinion? Or do you just need someone to sit and listen?" However, good observation doesn't mean you'll always guess correctly. Instead of stating, "I know you're upset," ask, "I have a feeling you're not as okay as usual today. Am I right?" Which way would you rather be comforted? To receive advice right away or to be listened to first? Leave advice or listen? But in conflict, that same look of calm and attentiveness can be interpreted completely differently. Sign 5. Always be calm in every argument. When an argument becomes tense, many people will speak faster, louder, and react emotionally. But you often do the opposite. Lower your voice, speak slowly, and try to separate the problem from the anger at hand. For you, staying calm is the way to prevent conflict from escalating. You want to understand what happened, what the cause was, and what solutions are acceptable, instead of trying to win with stronger emotions. During a meeting, a colleague thinks you're doing something wrong and starts speaking in a harsh tone. You don't respond right away, but wait for them to finish speaking, then calmly ask again what information needs to be checked. You might think that attitude is making the situation easier to resolve. But an angry person might perceive you as cold, dismissive of their feelings, or simply trying to appear calm to gain the upper hand in the conversation. Another situation arises when you are the one being hurt. Instead of getting angry, you remain silent and withdraw to control your emotions. But the other person doesn't know if you need time or have completely withdrawn from the relationship. So being calm isn't just about not raising your voice. Other people also need a signal that you are still present and still interested. Otherwise, your self-control can easily be interpreted as apathy or emotional closure. Before analyzing right and wrong, you could say, "I understand this is making you very angry. I'm listening and want to work with you to resolve this." You don't need to react as strongly as they do. Just let them know their feelings have been seen. Do you often become quieter and calmer the more stressed you are? If so, count this as the fifth sign. But the final sign is the clearest indication of why others recognize you're not easily pressured. Sign says, know how to say no. Many people find it difficult to say no. They often apologize for a long time, give a series of reasons, or accept even though they don't want to, just because they are afraid of being judged as selfish, unenthusiastic, or not thinking about others. You are generally clearer about your limits. When you know a request exceeds your current time, energy, or capabilities, you respond decisively rather than agreeing first and then secretly feeling resentful or breaking your promise later. For example, at the end of the day, your supervisor assigns you an additional, non-urgent task and wants results by the next morning. Instead of agreeing reflexively, you clearly state that your current workload doesn't allow you to guarantee the quality and deadline. Or a friend keeps pushing you to attend a meeting you don't want to go to. Instead of making up a reason to avoid it, you say you won't participate and keep your decision despite their continued persuasion. That clarity might make others wary, as they quickly realize you're not easily swayed by guilt, pleading, or the pressure of the crowd. For those accustomed to bargaining, your boundaries are where they have to stop, but that clearly doesn't mean being cold. In work and important relationships, a brief explanation shows respect. "I can't take on this job right now. We can review it next week." A healthy boundary is like a gate that can be closed at the right time, not a wall that prevents people from getting close. You don't need to explain to the point of asking permission from others, but you also don't need to use decisiveness to make them feel degraded. Based on these 6 signs, how many do you recognize yourself to have? Leave a number from 1 to 6 inches the comments. If you realize you have many signs, it doesn't mean you're scary or superior to others. You may be less likely to emit the social signals that people around you use to feel safe and understood. Silence can be a sign of calm, but it can also be misinterpreted as indifference. Directness can be sincere, but at the wrong time it can create pressure. And a good boundary only fosters respect when it maintains kindness. You don't need to change your personality just to please everyone. You don't need to change who you are. Just add a nod to the silence, a permission sentence before asking deeply, and a confirmation before offering a solution. Thank you for watching the entire video. We will meet in the next videos.